Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode. My name is Jesse Ngonyama and I work in the comms team at Northumbria Healthcare. And today we're here to talk about men's mental health. And today I'm here with Mike. So how are you doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm amazing, thank you. It's great to have you here. So could you just open up talking about, I guess, your career journey and your background and your upbringing and stuff like that?
I started off playing basketball like 6, 7 years old. Worked my way up. Went to a private school in high school. Ended up going to a prep school, one of the best prep schools in the United States, Brewster Academy. I got a lot of offers, like college offers. I ended up going to University of Florida for 2 years, and then I transferred to University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So from there, my first pro contract was in Czech Republic in Prague, and then I went to France for my second year, and then my third year, I'm here in Newcastle.
Amazing. How have you found it here so far?
I love it. I love the energy from the fans. I like my teammates and my coaches, so yeah.
So you spoke about, you grew up in you played for like a private school and then you went to the University of Florida, which I think is one of the best basketball universities in the world. So I imagine being in that environment was very intense, fiercely competitive, and it was like a high pressure environment. So just tell us about your experience during that time period.
It was definitely, it was an amazing experience to start off. Definitely high pressure. When I got there, we were preseason number 5 in the country. So there's a lot of expectations for us to, do really well. We ended up making the NCAA tournament, but we lost in the second round. So we didn't go as far as we really wanted to. But there's definitely high expectations to go to a school like that. So,
and especially being like a young adult trying to navigate your early adulthood, how is it with all that pressure being around and you having to kind of lock in and make sure you're performing?
It's a lot for sure. Cause you have fans in your ear, you have your friends back home in your ear, you have your family in your ear. So it's a lot that goes into that. So I think for a young man like myself, I try to block out as much of the noise as I can just to, be myself.
Yeah. I think, you obviously played D1 basketball, and in the States, being D1 is something which has like a status to it, doesn't it?
For sure.
It's something where people look at a D1 athlete and it's like, they've got something about them and they automatically put expectation on you.
Yeah.
So with that comes a lot of attention, clout, I guess you can say, and I guess surrounding noise. So how were you able to deal with that? What kind of things did you put in place and what actions did you take to block it out?
Well, for me growing up, my mom really taught me and my siblings to be humble. So when I started getting, offers in high school, there was a lot of people like telling me this, telling me that, and I just always stay humble. I never got a big head about anything that's ever came my way. So honestly, it was kind of easy for me to block out anything that comes with it. Yeah, there's clout, there's people want to be around you, they want to, they want your attention, but I've never been the guy to just bring new people in. I've always stayed close-knit with my people. So.
And how has that helped as well, keeping a close circle? It's like, does that help you to be, I guess, more vulnerable and open just because the people around you are close and people that you can trust as well?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a small circle. Once you start having a big circle and, that's when you start seeing people just using you for their own need and not really being beneficial for both sides. So for me, like I said, I keep my close circle as in my family, like my mom, my sister, my brother, also my dad. We just keep it that way and just keep it moving,
So we just spoke about kind of your early career in like D1 basketball university years. But after the USA, your home country, you moved out. You said you went to Czech Republic, France, and now you're here in England.
Yeah.
So I guess, have you experienced any homesickness? Has it been really hard kind of being away from your family and friends?
For sure. Like my first year of pro basketball, I was depressed, to be honest. Even though I had like a pretty good year, I was just depressed just because, I'm away from my family for a year. Obviously, it's a new experience for me, a whole new country. They don't speak English, so that was tough for me. But I think I made it through. So any tough thing that's ever happened to me, I've always found a way to make it through. So.
And what I mean, as you said, like you felt, I guess, homesick and isolated. I guess a bit of imposter syndrome in there as well, being that you're in a place where nobody even speaks the same language as you.
Yeah.
Like, how did you deal with that? What actions did you take to kind of?
With that, I just, I try to make friends, try to understand the country I'm in, like understand the language, understand like their way of living. And, I started trying to find new hobbies, stuff that I like to do, and that's how I made it through. And then obviously I got basketball, so when I play basketball, it kind of takes my mind away from everything. So that was like my biggest thing, being able to go to the gym. I could just clear my mind and just for however many hours I'm in there, that was a good thing for me.
That's good to touch on as well, because research shows that, if you're more physically active, you're doing well. You're doing better mentally as well. So talk to us about that. Like, is basketball almost like an outlet for you to kind of?
For sure. It's been an outlet for me ever since I picked up a basketball. So anytime I've ever, I felt bad about something, like, like I'm angry or whatever, I just go to a court, and that's when I have my time where, like, I'm not thinking about anything but just basketball. So
would you say it's almost like a therapy?
Definitely a therapy. It's like my happy place. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like, I know for sure, like, that's how I know I love the game. I know whenever like I'm done playing, I know that won't be like a thing for me anymore. I'll have to find something else to be my therapy. So yeah.
So you talked about there being, I guess, lonely and having to kind of look to make friends. So what advice would you give to like a young person who maybe find themselves in a new environment and they feel isolated? What advice would you give them?
Try and get out your comfort zone. Try and meet new people. Try and understand, like, if you're in a new country, try and understand like the way of living in that country, and just find things you like to do, because I mean it's for you. So
So I guess going back to the transition again. So you came from Florida, which is where you play basketball, which is like on paper a very diverse kind of background.
For sure.
And you moved over to Europe, where probably a lot less diverse areas, and now that we're in the northeast of England, also a less diverse part of the country. I think it has one of the largest white residential populations in the country. So with all of that, as a Black American man, what has your overall experience been like, kind of moving about, and have you experienced any culture shocks or even racism?
Yeah, the racism part, yeah, for sure. Like, when I was in France, like I said, they don't speak English in France. So me, like, I'm, trying to, meet people, and I'm speaking English, and, people getting mad at me, giving me, dirty looks. But I've always grown up, like, my mom teaching us, me and my siblings, to treat people how you want to be treated. So for me, I treat everybody with respect, and, hopefully it's reciprocated back and forth. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah.
I came from Northampton, which is in the East Midlands of England. It's a very kind of diverse part of the country.
Yeah.
And when I moved up here, I live in Northumberland, which is just above Newcastle, so it's quite less diverse than Newcastle itself. So it was quite a shock for me. But I'd say I was quite lucky in the sense that I never experienced any, at least obvious or overt or direct racism.
Yeah.
But as you spoke about there, you can get a lot of dirty looks as well. And that can kind of make you feel like, it unsettles you, it makes you feel uncomfortable. So I guess, what advice would you give to people who are experiencing that, like young men from lots of different cultures and backgrounds? What advice would you give them to deal with that?
Don't get too emotional about it. Don't react. Just, keep it moving, honestly. You're in a new country, you're in a new area. I mean, that's how some people are. So, I think for me, I've definitely grown in that aspect, because I tell you, maybe years ago, I may have reacted in a way like.
Yeah.
But now, like, I'm not, it doesn't really faze me too much, so.
For sure. So, in your time in France, you experienced quite a big setback in your career where you suffered with injury.
Yeah.
And you ended up being cut from your team. Injuries are often an inevitable part of sport, but they're still a very big like trigger for mental health. So could you talk us through that experience and being injured, and then as well on top of that being cut from your team? That must have had like a big impact on you.
For sure. Like the injuries I had pulled hamstring. It was like back to back to back, so it just kept happening. So pulled hamstring, sprained my ankle, sprained my big toe. Like, so that was tough for me because I normally never get injured. So obviously it affected me mentally because I'm like, dang, what am I doing wrong? Like I've been doing or playing basketball and training a certain way up until that point, and now all of a sudden I'm getting hurt, which never really happens to me. So that was tough for me. And to answer your question about being cut from my team, the injuries, played a role in that. I wasn't able to be myself, be who I am on the court. So, the team made a decision to cut me, and I went back home, and it was tough for me because I've never been cut from anything in my life. So it had me questioning myself, like, yo, like, are you a good basketball player? Can you like still do this? So luckily, like my therapy, which was basketball, getting back on the court, just training, I had to, gain that confidence again. So, yeah.
You talked about there, like, it was almost like a relentless time where it was just back to back to back. It felt like it was never ending.
Right.
You just had injuries after injuries and stuff. So how were you able to overcome that with it being so like non-stop? How did you build that resilience?
I think talking with my family back home, I know for sure, like my mom giving me confidence just to, stay strong, stay prayed up, and just having my people back home. Like I know they support me through whatever. So I know I believe in myself, and just to have like an extra person, like my mom, my sister, my brother, my dad, just them giving me confidence, I think that helped me.
Mm-hmm. And how important is it to have that outlet to open up to? Because I feel like maybe if a lot of people, they keep it bottled in, and it just kind of overwhelms them. But as you said, you had family to talk to. How much did that help you get through that tough period?
Yeah, it helped me a lot. I know definitely, like if I didn't have them, like I have my friends and all, but like if I didn't, have them, giving me that confidence, who knows what would happen with me. So I think it's important to have, it doesn't necessarily have to be your family, it could be your friends. Just have somebody there that's, giving you confidence, pushing you to overcome whatever situation you're going through. You shouldn't keep things bottled up, because you do that, and at one point it's just going to explode.
Comes to a breaking point, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't know how, you'll react, so, yeah.
So the physical side of your injury as well, what steps did you take to make sure, like physically, you could recover properly?
So I'm from North Carolina, so I went back to, Raleigh, North Carolina. So I went back to Raleigh, and I got with my trainers, and I just strengthened up all those areas I injured, and I made it a focal point. So I had like 7-8 months of just training, and I'm here now.
Let's talk about your relationship with social media. As we've spoke about, there's basketball alone, just being in that environment, there's a lot of pressure coming from the team, your coaches, your family, your friends. But in today's world, we have social media, and that adds another element into it. It adds even more pressure. I've had a look at your Instagram, and you don't really seem to be too active on it. So is this something that you've been like very intentional with in order to kind of distance yourself from public attention?
I think it really started when I was in Florida. It's a big school, a big basketball school, and those fans are crazy. They would send you crazy things. They'll like send you direct messages telling you you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. So I think I've got to the point where stuff like that, it doesn't faze me. So I'm not too attached to social media, so to speak. So I'm just, if I post, I post. If I don't, I don't. I just go on with my life, because I understand it's a real life. Social media, it's a facade a lot of times. A lot of people, they try to put on a fake story, a fake life. And I feel like the way I live, like I'm authentic with everything I do. So I'm not trying to fake it for anybody,
So you talked about there, like online criticism, trolling,
Yeah.
I guess abuse in an aspect. Like,
Yeah.
like, did it get too much? Like, was it a step which you took where it was like, okay, now this is too much, or it was like kind of gradually like, okay, this isn't really something I need to be diving into?
It wasn't really ever too much for me, cause one, like me, I never replied to people like speaking negatively about me. Like if anything, it would be like my sister or something. Like, you know, she's always gonna support her little brother, so she would maybe reply to people. And then on the other hand, I have my younger brother, like he might send me stuff that people are saying about me and we just laugh about it. Like it's not, cause I've, like growing up, like I've heard worse, like, and I've seen worse. So like, if something somebody's saying on the internet, it doesn't really faze me. Cause I know like if you actually see me in person, you probably wouldn't say that. You just, you know, over the internet and keyboard doing what you do. So it's, to me, I take it as comedy, but I know other people might take it as like a real thing. It might really affect them. So, you know.
Yeah, I think, you know, the fact that it's behind the keyboard, it makes it so easy for people to talk. You see it in sports, not only sports, but even just day-to-day living. People may experience, you know, if they post something, people just, for no reason, kind of attacking them on that.
For sure.
Again, for no reason. So for someone who's experiencing, you know, online bullying, criticism, hate, whatever it may be, what advice would you give that person to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm them?
Don't let it faze you, honestly. Cause you gotta look at it like this: the people who are talking, they probably wish they were in your position. They probably wish, like just like an athlete in general, they probably look at it like, dang, I wish I could be a professional athlete like this person and do what they're doing. But they're just at home, just typing and saying, trying to troll you, you know, saying certain things to rile you up. So you shouldn't let that phase you, honestly. Just live your life. Because like I said earlier, like a lot of people live this fake facade, you know, that they put on the internet. So just live your life and go on with your day.
So, final question. Outside of the workplace, outside of sport and basketball, what other things do you do that help you mentally? What's your favorite things to do?
I like watching TV shows, movies. I like collecting shoes. Like I love shoes. I like to chill. Like I don't really do too much, you know.
So just alone time, I guess.
Yeah,
Kind of
like
just doing different hobbies
definitely
and-
have my alone time, do stuff I like to do, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, it was amazing having you on this podcast. It was nice to talk to you. It was nice to hear you open up about, you know, the different kind of hard times that you went through in your career and how you've overcome them as well. So appreciate you for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you.